Good evening, everybody, again. Doc Bass coming back at you. This is an immediate follow-up to my previous video that I made on topographic maps for bass anglers. And in this last video, that I think I did a fairly good job actually pointing out some of the features you can identify using topographic maps, especially those topographic maps that were created before the lake or reservoir was actually constructed, which is the example of what I am showing you here and what I did in that previous video, since this map was shown in that previous video. Just to remind you quickly what's going on here, the points of these blue arrows over here are basically indicating the shoreline location. This is after this area was inundated. Everything up to the right of that or east is above water. Everything to the left or west is underwater. We had the old roadbed coming through. We have some old buildings that have been inundated. I mentioned that all this green stuff used to be trees that have been since cut down, except for in the back part of this cove where those trees are still standing. And I'll show you another interesting part, or excuse me, not part, but another type of map that you can use, one that's referred to as a lake fishing map, that I use actually as a complement to this map. And I use topographic maps to help, again, extract some additional information that may not be contained on the typical lake maps that you find, and then I'll annotate those maps accordingly. Okay, but let me switch over here and show you what the section of the lake map for this lake looks like. And here it is. It is very simple. The dark black line here is indeed the shoreline. Okay, and I'm going to switch back to the topo, and just think of how this shoreline is going to come in through here, right? It's going to have this nice little nose thing coming out here and following this contour in here along these blue arrowed, or the tips of those blue arrows. We get that same feature playing in here. If we look offshore, we then have that extended feature out here. Okay, that's actually being shown on the topographic map as kind of this contour and the ones out beyond it. Those are underwater today. All right. What are some of the advantages of a lake map? Well, it's simple. One thing I like in most lake maps is they do a much better job of highlighting usually where the old creek channel is, which is what this thing is, this light blue, light gray stripe running down the center of the lake. Okay, and in this case we have the road that was coming in down to the ramp area today, and we also see where they projected that road coming across the reservoir as it exists, as was also shown on the topographic map. Okay, the contours here have been interpreted to actually show the depths as opposed to the land elevation, which is what is going to be shown on those older topographic maps that represent the topography of the area before the reservoir was actually constructed. Again, using these things in concert, this is going to help you, interpret what's going on. It's not showing things like those old structures that used to be out here that have been since left behind. It's not showing you where the tree line used to be, although I can tell you in this part of this cove that the trees are still standing, but all the trees down here were removed. There is another interesting piece of information here. You'll see this number 3 with a 4 in the background. I mentioned that when they took down all these trees, they actually brought those down to the original creek channel, the edge of it, and created large brush piles. This is the location of one of those brush piles. Now, you could have speculated that when they took down these trees down here, they probably put them somewhere out in this area. And of course, if you have a depth finder, you can go out and find that pretty quickly. But in this map, they're showing you directly. So, keep this in mind. I'm not advocating just using topographic maps. I'm not advocating just using lake fishing maps. I actually use both of these maps in my fishing endeavors, and my official copy of this map, for instance, has all kinds of notations on it, things that I've transferred off the topographic maps. Oh, one other thing, sometimes these lake fishing maps are at cost. They're available from commercial companies, and there is a commercial company that makes one for this lake. This lake fishing map, however, was actually made available by our Department of Natural Resources in this state. So get out there, be diligent, poke around. You'll never know the map treasures you'll find. And remember, they're all going to help you succeed at doing more bass catching and less just bass fishing. Have a great night. We'll talk to you again soon.